heading to town grabbing supplies. Look after your mom, God, won't you?
Hello, all you beautiful and amazing people. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the show. If you're new to the channel, I'm your host, Hyde, and this is Hide and Seek Media, where we talk about news, sports, politics, and so much more. Today, I'm going to do a review on Terror in the Prairie, the latest film from the Daily Wire. Now, if those of you who don't know what the Daily Wire is, they are a news commentary platform, with a conservative bias, but they've ventured out into culture and entertainment and have recently done a few feature films, including this one, their latest one. This was the first one that I wanted to watch because it had Gina Carano, and this was supposed to be her big comeback. So I wanted to see this one in particular. So I decided to watch it, and now that I have, I wanted to do a review. And apparently that's why you're here. So we're going to get into that, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the movie, Carano's performance, along with some of the other actors that were in it. And we're going to break down the film and kind of dig into whether it was actually good or not. But before we get into all that, if you like the work I'm doing here so far and you want to help support the channel, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, right? I have a merch link in the description you can go to where you can pick you out some funny political t-shirts and hoodies. If you use code 1776, I'll give you 20% off your entire order. I also have a locals community that you can go join, which is free. But there is premium content that you have to become a premium member to get. And that membership is just $2.99 a month. So head on over there and become a member. But the best way you guys can help support the channel is by smashing that like button and sharing this video on all social media platforms. Those two interactions will really tell YouTube that this video needs more impressions, and that will get me more views. More views gets me more subscribers. And that's how we build this channel. And that's what I'm really trying to do. So if you really feel like helping out, smash that like button and share this video. But let's get to the review of Terror on the Prairie, starring Gina Carano. So in the beginning of this movie, as the opening credits are starting, it's a band of people chasing down a guy, right? It's one guy. There's like 4 or 5 of these guys chasing down what you think is some kind of bad guy, criminal, whatever. Right? It turns out that this band of deviants is out to murder this man, but they like to torture him and play with him a little bit before they do. And then that's when one of the main characters in the film, first presents himself. His name is Captain Miller, played by Nick Searcy. And he reads some scripture from the Bible, gets down, gives a little speech to the man about how, he's there to rain down the wrath of God, basically. And then proceeds to scalp him. All right. So that's how the movie started.
You know who I am. And I have no doubt that God will forgive you. But I hate God.
That's about, and I want to preface all of this by saying I'm not going to try to give too many spoilers. So I will do my best to keep the spoilers down to a minimum. But in the opening scene, a man gets scalped. It's kind of, you think, okay, I better prepare myself for what might be a pretty intense movie. But then the next 30 so minutes is almost nothing. There's one scene where Gina Carano's character has to render aid to some Native Americans, one of them who it looks like he's gravely injured, right? And she does so, and they say thank you. But there's really never any words spoken in that scene, right? Not a lot of words, anyways, and which in the first 30 minutes or so, there's not a whole lot of dialogue to begin with. But in that scene in particular, what resonated was that you had 2 different people, the Native American and then, the settler, basically, can't communicate language-wise, but through actions were able to communicate and convey their sentiment and whatever. That really resonated with me when I first watched the film, because I thought, okay, this is a symbolism, right? So you're saying that even though we have no way of actually verbally communicating, with our actions, we can communicate to each other how we want to be perceived and how we would like to be treated, right? And so I thought that was pretty interesting. But like I said, the first 30 so minutes of the movie is just basically watching this family, Gina Carano's family, live on the prairie. And I don't know, it's kind of bland and kind of boring, right? And it's like, okay, we get it. It's hard living in the prairie of Montana, right? On the edge of winter. Is what it looks like to me. I get it. Yeah, that's hard. But 30 minutes of it was kind of hard to swallow, right? And the only reason why I was able to push through that 30 minutes was because I wanted to do this video and make a review on that movie. So I watched on. And it was, like I said, so you're going to have to be dedicated to want to get to the end of this movie, to get through the first 20 to 30 minutes of it, because there is very, very little dialogue. There's almost no real action or anything like that outside of the opening credits. And it is very mundane and bland. On top of which, Carano doesn't give a very convincing performance as a frontier wife. And this is what leads us to the part where she is second guessing whether she can even be a frontier wife, right? Apparently she's from a wealthy family from St. Louis, and she doesn't know if she's cut out to do the frontier living. So like I said, about 35 minutes into the movie, this is when we get to where Captain Miller and Hattie McAllister meet. Now, at first, it seems like just a coincidence, right? A happenstance. These band of guys riding out just happened to cross their homestead and, ask for some water and and she offers to feed them food and lets them into her home and all of that.
A mighty fine morning to you, ma'am.
And to you.
Is your husband at home?
Not really knowing what's going on, but you can see that she's weary in her facial expression. She's not 100%, trusting of these people, but she is going to accommodate and try to be as obliging as she can to hurry them along without any incident. But then this is where the entire movie starts to ramp up, right? She realizes that these people may not be very pleasant people at all, and she needs to get rid of them. And so she devises a way to get her hands on a gun and gets them out. But this is when all the shooting and violence, and she becomes the heroine of the movie, right? And for the remainder of the movie, I will say Carano plays a, badass frontier woman from that moment on. It's the very beginning of the movie part that you have to kind of get through. And yeah, there's some gory violence and there's some cruelty that you wouldn't expect in the movie, but it's not as bold as I thought it was going to be. And as some of the reviews I read, I was like, wow, this could be, pretty gruesome. And I prepared myself for it. Even in the opening credits, when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm scalping a dude in the beginning of the movie. Let's see what this is going to bring. But there was some parts. It had some moments, but all in all, I would say the shining light of this entire movie was not Gina Carano. It was Nick Searcy, the guy who plays Captain Miller. He was more convincing. He had more dialogue in the movie than Gina Carano did. Gina Carano was in almost every scene, right? She was in almost every scene of the movie, but so was Nick Searcy. He was in a majority of the movie, whereas her husband, right, Jeb McAllister, he was barely in the movie. I think maybe 20 or 30 minutes of the almost 2 hour movie. So yeah, I was not. I mean, the story was good. Okay, the story premise was good. Captain Miller was a very good villain. Nick Searcy did a very good job of playing that part. And it was a very good villain idea. But the other guys were throwaway characters. All of the other gang members were, I can't even tell you their names, right? Because I didn't care to learn them, because they were all throwaway characters who didn't have a lot of lines. They weren't very good actors. A lot of the people in this movie were a lot of no-name people that are probably going to remain that way, because this movie, it was good. It was watchable, but it was forgettable. Like, there's a lot of it that you're going to forget after the first couple of days of watching it, because it wasn't a remarkable movie. It was decent. But for me, I wanted this one to be the first movie I watched from the Daily Wire, because it was supposed to be Gina Carano's comeback moment, right? But here's my whole problem with that. I didn't think Gina Carano was that great in The Mandalorian. I didn't think she was that great of an actor. And I still don't. She doesn't carry that kind of gravitas on the screen. She doesn't even, I'm sorry, but I would say that Gal Gadot carries more of that superhero heroine gravitas type aura presence on screen than Gina Carano does. So I thought it was an okay movie. I did like the storyline. The dialogue and the script wasn't that great. The action was decently thought out, but I didn't like the fact that they had been living out on the prairie like that for a number of years, and her husband hadn't taken the time to teach her how to shoot. I mean, that girl couldn't hit a broadside of a barn with a shotgun standing 5 feet away. It was terrible. It was terrible. There was only a few times where she actually hit any of the bad guys, but she shot a lot of damn bullets. And it was like, that to me was surprising that they didn't, do a better job of that. I mean, I guess they were trying to make her seem more vulnerable by, being a bad shot and having to rely more on just sheer grit. But that to me just makes the criminals look even stupider, right? This woman couldn't hit you if her life depended on it, which it did, and you couldn't overtake her. In a real scenario like that, I doubt. I mean, they were trying to take her alive because they were trying to get to the husband and, use her or whatever.
Just take where you want to go.
But what we want is you.
But sooner or later, he has to come home. And if you take her out and then just wait inside the house until he shows up, you've got him. So to me, the whole idea behind keeping her alive and trying to take her alive didn't really make any sense. It was just, but the motives behind Captain Miller, I like that. I like that. That was believable, right? Especially in that time and era, just after the Civil War, still a lot of hatred in the country. So it was very believable, why he was there to do harm to her husband. And, as a good, as a wife should, she tried to protect her husband, as best she could. And ultimately, at the end, they win the day, right? Of course, they have to, because this is your classic hero versus villain type movie. So, of course, they win the day. Why wouldn't they? To me, like I said, it was a watchable but forgettable movie. And if you are a subscriber to Daily Wire and you've got, 2 hours to kill, I'd watch it. But be prepared. The first 30 plus minutes is going to be kind of hard to get through if you're expecting, a lot of action and high impact. It's a lot of mundane, this is how the prairie life is type thing, right? Let's set up how hard it is to live out here in the prairie before we get to how hard it is to defend your life. So if you already are a subscriber, sure, watch it. If you're not a subscriber to the Daily Wire yet, I wouldn't recommend using this as the reason to be a subscriber. Go check out other things they've got. The shows they have on that platform are really great. So maybe I would check out some of those before, subscribing. And once you do subscribe, maybe check out this movie. But for all of those out there who are subscribers, like I said, if you've got 2 hours to kill and you can, push yourself through the first 35 minutes, it's a decent movie. But it's something I would watch if I had 2 hours that I didn't have nothing else to do. Not if I wouldn't gather the whole family around and make a whole big deal about it. It's not that kind of movie. But all in all, the Daily Wire still is doing great things over there, and I would recommend being a subscriber to that platform. But if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you guys watching. It really does mean a lot to me that you've made it this far. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop a new video. Smash that like button. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video and the topic. I really love to engage with my viewers, so feel free to fire away. But most importantly, hit that share button and share this video on all social media platforms. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.